Go for it.
Yes. Let's go. Maitha, can you start the recording?
It's done.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Building Better Digital Product Using Product Analytics for SME and Corporate. Data has become a buzzword in the industry for some time now, as the role of technology has become multifold in every sector and it generates huge amount of information that can yield valuable insight about the field. And this led to a boom of the data industry in the last 10 years. However, raw formal data is useless unless data collection is supplemented with its analysis for obtaining decision-making insight, and analytics is the best bet to bring about an informed digital transformation in your business. In the digital world, data analytics is the key to driving productivity, efficiency, and revenue growth. And the results from analyzing data set can help any business to identify where they can optimize, which process can be optimized or automated, which processes are unproductive, and etc. Investing in analytics will help companies in the present and the years to come. Data analytics strengthens business by encouraging disciplined thinking, keeping key decision makers focused, improving processes and optimizing communication between business leaders and data experts in order to drive the right conversation for the success of the business. We will discuss this kind of very important topic in this webinar, and we will go through specific points like comparison between the legacies and future-proof analytics platform, discussing why product analytics and how leverage them, talking about statistics and how product teams currently can use data in the GCC, and introduction. And we would like to introduce to a product that can easily use for analyzing data. To discuss this in detail, we have a really great panel, guys. Today, we have Ethan Nelly, a co-founder and chief tech catalyst, human-centered design and technology, Origami Lab, and Rekid Kamath, strategic alliance and partnership lead in EMEA at Mixpanel. Okay, I would like to ask each panelist to introduce themselves just after I mention some ground rules, very quick. Please keep your mic on mute if you don't have to talk. We will have 40 minutes, I would say 50 minutes discussion and 10 minutes Q&A. If you have some question, please, you may type it in the chat option, and or you can ask the question at the end of the session. The webinar will be recorded, and you will have the opportunity to watch the webinar later, and the URL and download it, and you can do whatever you want. Let's start with actually no, please, a few seconds for Ethan and Rekid to introduce yourself. Please, guys, tell us something about yourself.
Thank you, David.
Ethan.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. I'm Ethan Nainani and the co-founder of Origami Lab. Origami Lab is a design innovation lab based out of UAE. We work with organizations and governments to essentially help them build better products and services through the process of design and not just the tangible graphic design.
Great. Okay.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, David. Hi, guys. My name is Richard, and I work at Mixpanel as a strategic alliances and partnerships lead. And my job at Mixpanel is very much to help understand, build, and grow our partner ecosystem. And which means I get to work with amazing partners like Ethan at Origami Labs. But I also get to work with a lot of other technology companies and our tech partners who integrate with Mixpanel. And the value that is generated by our partner ecosystem, it is also my job to translate that value into our customers like NBF and other prospects that are in our purchase and sales funnel. And I'm very excited to be here. And David, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Very pleased to have you guys. I will classify you like a ninja in this field. So we have a lot of things to share today about data analytics. So let's start with a simple poll to the audience. to get their background about the topic. Shiba Mehta, if you can help me on this. Okay, this is the poll. Did you hear about business analytics before? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Option C, a little. I don't really understand it. Option D, yes, but I don't know the benefits of it. Few seconds for the attendant to choose the right for who, the right for no one. And let's see what they're thinking. Time limit 5 minutes. We will not have 5 minutes, but let's keep a few seconds more, and let's see what we can discuss. Please, guys, just a single click. I hope that everyone will see there is a pulling on the right of the window in WebEx here. You will see the pull question. Please click. Few more. 5 seconds more. Please click. Right. Okay. Let's see the result and start to discuss with kind of result. Right. So the 45% of the audience already knows about the data analytics, of course, because it's a topic that's quite famous in the last 5 years, 10 years. And 30% that says that a little, and little, but don't completely understand it, and 25% no answer. Okay. Who start? Do you expected something like that in terms of awareness of the topic?
In terms of awareness, yes, this does fit in quite nicely with the survey that we ran late last year, and it is somewhat reflective of the current scenario within the region as well.
Great. Rakit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there are no great shakes or there are no surprises here. Being data informed and data driven together has been the war cry for a very long time, and I feel like obviously the innovation and the organizations based in GCC are sort of have been driving that forward for their particular organization. So I do believe and I do agree with the results. But just to sort of add to that, in order to understand true data analytics, you need to first understand a bit more about where that data is coming from, right? So without trying to be super reductive or oversimplifying these concepts, I kind of use the ABC model of understanding data, right? So A stands for sort of data.
Rakit, before I'm asking you one thing, because just for the percentage of the people that maybe they never heard about, or they heard but they don't know, can you guys clarify what is mean data analytics from your perspective, and try to share your understanding about this and clarify it, just to start, and then.
Of course.
What do you mean about data analytics?
Yeah, I mean, data analytics is essentially collecting data that sort of represents your business in multiple formats and multiple scenarios, and then having that data analyzed that then sort of drives the needle for your business from your KPIs perspective. And those KPIs can be either summary KPIs or KPIs that are leading indicators of the success of your business. So yeah, that's what my understanding of business data analytics is.
Ethan?
Thank you, Rachit. And yes, I do believe I would like to echo with what Rachit has said. And business analytics is definitely one of the core tools that businesses have to and should be using in this particular day and age. However, I am also of the belief that it is a tool that needs to be applied within businesses. However, the misconception behind product and user analytics is something that needs to be changed. And in terms of a mindset, that needs to be changed. Analytics doesn't necessarily depend and fall within the IT infrastructure of organizations. And I think this needs to be a organization-wide strategic effort to especially make an organization more insight-driven and driven with actual evidence that is obtained from data, as well as then put this together with more human-centered framework to actually create products that users can depend on.
I agree with your view, but I have to say that I think from feedback that I got from the market, it is still a challenge in terms of understanding on what is the data analytics, the awareness about data analytics, and first of all, how I can apply the data analytics. Do you think that in UAE and general GCC, the business are aware about this kind of concept and they know how can apply in their business this kind of new way to read their business?
Well, there definitely has been an influx of businesses gearing towards data analytics and product analytics, with, of course, a lot of, within the region especially, with a lot of tech startups and a lot of fintech startups and a lot of different firms that focus solely on creating digital products coming up, especially with unicorns. Well, I could call them a unicorn, Kareem and stuff like that. We definitely do have an influx. However, based on the research that we conducted last year, some of the interesting statistics that we've come up with are to be able to understand how product teams use data. And one of the most pressing questions that businesses and organizations wanted to understand using data was, how can they measure and what is the impact of new features that are launched? However, surprisingly, if you actually look at some of the data from a closer perspective, what's interesting is that approximately 62% of the 102 businesses that we surveyed, 62% don't understand the complete user journey that their particular users take through their digital products. And that is definitely a massive red flag.
I completely agree, and that's a real big challenge, because I think that understanding how your customer is interacting with your digital product, because now we are talking about everywhere. If you want to be in a business, the digital aspect is becoming key, right? So there is a stretch in terms of capability and understanding from the businesses and how you can configure at the best your digital product, and then how you can analyze the data collected by this kind of digital product. So Rakib, what do you think about how a small business or also enterprise can try to stay close to this kind of topics without being scared? Because, you know, I mean, right? There's a kind of connection in sense of typically that says, oh, but I have to spend a lot of money in license, in spend a lot of money in software and then server or cloud access for running this kind of project. And I don't know how to configure these kind of tools. So how we can help businesses, small businesses, enterprise to getting closer to this kind of topics and have the benefits from this?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. So firstly, to understand that, we just need to understand that more and more data is being sort of is created every day by businesses for businesses, and understanding and analyzing all this data is difficult. That's a given. We have understood. We can all agree on that. But it is essential for these businesses to have a collection process that sort of allows them to collect all of this data in the most systematic way possible. Though that's table stakes. Data collection has to be the paramount for an ongoing data strategy, right? Now that data can be split into three parts. The point I was trying to make, which was data can be about your users, or data can be created by your users, or data can be about your business, right? So these three sort of sectors overlap for every business. Understanding these three sectors for your business's point of view and the overlap will sort of help you define your data strategy for the future, right? So for example, data that is created by your business, which is your business data, for you to analyze that, you need a visualization tool like a Tableau or a Looker, because that's your business's data, and that's usually a structured data that sits in the cloud, right? But the data that is sort of about your users, for example, allows your teams to build better products, because you are constantly getting more an updated view of who your users are, and you can utilize this to create your product. And then finally, C, which is data that is created by your users, that sort of allows businesses to understand and improve your customers' experience about your product. So just understanding the nuances of these three, and making sure that what impacts your business the most will enable you to build a really robust data strategy and in a cost-effective way.
Okay, in sense of, I quite understand which are the main aspects to look at this kind of data analytics, and how this kind of topics can be interconnected with my business. Okay, but going a bit more practical, I was wondering, okay, but how it works? Which are the first steps that I have to make for, okay, assuming that I running digital products, and I started to collect data about this kind of products, which is the first step. Do you have some kind of potential demonstration that maybe can clarify in front of the people how it works? Do you have something that you can share with us, please?
Is that the question for me? Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I can definitely share something, but before that, I would quite like to, from a Mixpanel's perspective, we have this concept of an innovation loop, which is basically, Mixpanel has been in market for 10 years, and we have sort of helped businesses drive innovation for their product for the past decade. And one thing that we have found that is common across different sectors of our customers, right from the startups to enterprises like Uber that we work with. It's a 5-step process, which is sort of which starts off with, like I mentioned, which is data collection. But then once you've collected all of that data, identifying the trends of that data will sort of help you define your metrics and your success criteria. And once you identify the trends, you understand the why. Why are certain things happening the way they are? And once you've understood the why, you sort of set goals and hypotheses for your testing. And then you actually go ahead and take action against that, and you drive customer experience. And that action that you take, you put that data back into your data collection, and you start iterating again. So that cycle of iterating around your product's data is something that we see innovative businesses do all the time. You can't just collect data once and raise your hands and be like, it's done. We have a strong data collection now. We don't need to worry about it. You need to keep in that cycle constantly. And Mixpanel allows businesses to sort of get on that innovation loop and innovate in an iterative process. And
that is a very great point. Sorry, go on.
Just because it came into my mind a common belief that I heard many times in the market is that, if you're facing this kind of, or managing the data analytics, you need to have a data scientist, and the data scientist is costing so much in the market. And actually, and I don't know neither with kind of algorithm, I don't know how to interrelate the information, the data, to grab the information and translate the data and information. Really, I mean, that's really, I think from my feedback in the market, this is the common belief. How we can mystify this kind of concept? Because I know that, for example, Mixpanel, but also other tools, they are also easy to use. You don't have a PhD for running Mixpanel and translate the data in information to really get benefits, business benefits from understanding the analytics of your digital products. Ethan, how you can do it?
Well, to be honest, and I think I will let Rachit answer this more. However, before he gets into it, a lot of the smarter tools, a lot of the newer analytics platforms compared to the legacy platforms that we've seen and we've for years used, and we still use, honestly. And this is by no means going to say that legacy products like Google Analytics are bad. No, they do actually serve their purpose really well. But beyond that purpose which is served, how do you go into it? And again, it's a misconception, David, answering your point directly in terms of how complex data needs to be or how complex it is to analyze data. I think it is now a misconception because tools such as Mixpanel and the others that are currently available in the market are self-serve in a way that you can actually put in someone who isn't informed or completely literate about data analysis to run queries without knowing how to code in SQL or any other programming languages. And I think Rachit will be able to delve into this a lot deeper.
Absolutely, yes. The keyword that Hiten used there was self-serve analytics. Within a few clicks of a button, you can instantly get data about your product into a platform like Mixpanel. And democratization of data is another concept, which means that data can then further be distributed. The analysis of that data can be distributed to various teams, so everyone can be hands-on. So earlier in a traditional environment where you would have needed a data analyst or a data scientist to go through a lot of that unstructured data, make sense of it, write SQL queries, and by the time you would get your answers for that one particular question, couple of weeks later, you would have missed the train on driving that innovation and finishing that innovation loop. So that's what the real value that a self-serve analytics product like Mixpanel brings to the table, which is helps businesses understand user behavior from a lens of your product within a few clicks, so you can understand the steps of your conversion funnel. Not only can you understand steps of your conversion funnel, but you can identify people who have dropped off on step 3 without purchasing and use that cohort of users to run further analysis to understand why that they are dropping off. Again, within a few clicks, you can look at time to convert. I'm sorry, I would have loved to show something, but I just want to tell the host that I can't really share because my button is grayed out, and there's been yeah.
Let's check with Shiba and Mesa. I think that.
Yeah.
Please.
Just a second. We are making you the presenter.
Okay, I can see now. Yeah, I can. Yeah. So I can probably show some really quickly.
Please.
That will just sort of help.
Yeah, because I would like that with this kind of moment that we are sharing, the people can have some takeaway to try in the today or tomorrow to really understanding the benefits of this kind of approach.
Absolutely. So first things first, to understand the real value of self-serve analytics, you need to understand what kind of data is being collected, right? We keep going back to collection because that's really the first step of data. So this is a dummy data. So please be aware of that. But let's just click on this one particular user.
Sorry, you are now in a web page. What is this web page? What is this kind of tool? Tell us where we are.
We are in Mixpanel right now, and we are in the first stages of Mixpanel's project, which is basically an e-commerce project. So it's a dummy data full of e-commerce data around merchants, around sellers, around product lifecycle, around sort of customer, around product KPIs and customer KPIs. But before we can analyze that data, we need to just look at what that data looks like. And from Mixpanel's perspective, that data is split in two parts: the user profile So most up-to-date gives you a most up-to-date snapshot of that user. So first name, last name, email, there's an ID associated to it. So if this user is anonymous, it remains anonymous till the time he or she logs in, and then we stitch all of that data together so that there's no deduplication of users. And this is where all the user properties lie, which sort of gives you that most up-to-date snapshot of that user, the country, how they were created, their email address, and so on and so forth. And on the right, we see an activity feed, which is basically the events that that a user is undertaking and all the properties that are associated with it. This sort of is stuck in time, so that in this dummy data, the user has only done one event on one day, but there'll be a list of different days with different events normally in the data. So that is static. So this sort of dichotomy between these two sort of users and events will allow us to go deeper into this data. And I'll just show you how that looks like, David.
Repeat, please, what you mean about event in the tool, because otherwise the
event is essentially any action that the user is taking in your product that you have identified beforehand as part of your implementation. So anything like signing up to signing up to your premium package and subscribing to some content, or actually going and buying your product, right? So now from an e-commerce environment, we always look at e-commerce. It's easier for us to look at e-commerce from a user's perspective, but it's also important to understand that e-commerce is two sides of the same coin. You need a merchant who is selling, and then you need a buyer who's buying, and between them is your product, right? So that nuance is what Mixpanel allows you to deliver. So now you can see on the left here, we have created a merchant's dashboard. We have created a user's KPI and a customer life cycle on the back end of that. And between these two, we have put product KPIs. So let's just take, for example, from the merchant side, it's important to obviously understand who our merchants are, but more importantly, the sellers who are activated in the last 30 days and who are not activated in the last 30 days. Now, if there are some data analysts and data scientists in the room, it's easier said and done to be like, hey, I want to identify everyone who has created a user profile in the past 30 days as a seller, but not really bought anything or not really sold anything. When it comes to finding that data, it becomes really hard. So we have this thing called cohorts, which sort of creates a subset of users. So if I just click over here, it should give you a quick understanding of people who have completed a registration in the past at least one time in the last 30 days, user type equal to merchant, and did not list any items for 30 days. Now, what you see here, if you are going to build this in SQL, you will take at least a week to go through that data and write the SQL query to do something very basic like understanding sellers who have not sold anything in the last 30 days. So when you sort of create this, you can now start seeing a trend over time of how many users are sellers who have created a profile but not activated. You can do
Rachid,
sorry, go on.
Quick thing. So just before I go in, what you mentioned was very crucial. And I think for those within this room or within this webinar who aren't specifically from a technical perspective, or maybe operations or even business, one crucial thing to know is that you can use segments in a very interesting manner, not just to identify people who haven't converted, but also to identify users who have converted, who have made a purchase on your product or done an action which contributes to your business on the whole. And then you can segment those and understand what is their kind of behavior, what is the behavior that led them to then convert, and then try and replicate from a business perspective the other non-active users or the non-power users to replicate the power user behavior into the non-power users to be able to grow your organization and business and possibly your sales as well.
Absolutely. Like this is I totally agree with you, Hitendra. And that's to that point, this is the next sort of report that I would like to show you, which is our registration process. Very simple 3-step funnel. A user starts the registration, verifies all the information, and then goes ahead and completes your registration, right? So three-step process. It's not what this report gives you is an overall conversion rate of people who enter your registration process till that they complete, and this is really good. But what the real value of self-serve analytics is allows you to create hypotheses and go deeper into your data. So you can now very well create a cohort of these drop-offs, but more importantly, you can change this type to time to convert to really see that in that registration process, how quickly are the users converting into that registration. Now, over here, we can see most of the users, like 100% of the users, are in 0 to 2 days, and this is still not giving us the level of insight that is needed. So what we can quickly do is change the interval size from 2 days to 2 hours. Or sorry, yeah, let's do it 2 hours. And if you apply here, you see again that most of the registrations are happening in less than 2 hours. Okay, so that means we need to go deeper into this data. So let's just go from 2 hours to 2 minutes, and let's just see what happens. Okay, so every 2 minutes, so now you can see the data that you can go deeper into this data and realize that 60%, say for example, of your registration now is happening within the first 10 minutes of a user coming into your sort of drop into your registration funnel. So now, as a business, when you're
for the benefits, sorry, for the benefit for everyone, can you make a bit more zoom in the page? Page,
sorry.
Because some kind of number are not clearly. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So this sort of gives you an understanding of the time it is taking now for users to enter your registration funnel and convert. So as a product manager or as a designer or as an engineer of a product, it's important for you to see this level of granularity in your data, something that if you didn't have a self-serve analytics tool, it would have taken you months and months of resource internally to build that data set and then actually influence that business. So here we have a free version of Mixpanel. So you can pretty much implement the SDK, and without any cost, you can start analyzing this data and see what kind of positive impact this has for your business.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rachid, because one of the things that we also noted during our research within the GCC was that around 40% of the businesses that do use product analytics or analytics in any form don't understand where their users actually drop off. And tools like these actually make it a lot easier for you to understand why your users are dropping off and how they're dropping off, and possibly even take actions to then change that behavior.
Absolutely, I agree.
Raket, it seems that this kind of tool is really good, easy to use. I was wondering which is the first step, because if I put myself in the shoes of a small business that has or enterprise that has a website or an application already done, created, and that is running, that is starting to collect information. How I can link Mixpanel, this tool, with my website? There is a configuration to do. There is I need to configure Mixpanel to understand better which are, for example, which are the part of for the merchant, in your case, in the case that you show, the part of the website for the buyer. How is working this kind of setuping phase? Because sometimes it could be a buyer, right? For people that don't know about this kind of tools.
I understand. Yeah, I get your question, and that's a great question as well. So obviously with Mixpanel and with any self-serve analytics, the self-serve nature of analytics is driven really by a really strong measurement framework of understanding what to hypothesize, and that sort of measurement framework is your implementation of your Mixpanel, and that sort of drives your implementation of Mixpanel. So there is a certain level of skill and resource needed to implement and do some of the foundational work of understanding what to track and what makes sense for your business. We're not an auto track solution. We don't track everything and leave it up to you to go through the needle and find the needles in the haystack. You first utilize some of your existing resource to build an implementation plan around this measurement framework that we have in place. And once you do all the groundwork, then it is smooth sailing, because then multiple teams can log into Mixpanel and find answers to their questions. So it all goes through. And that's why we work with partners like Origami Labs, because they are professionals and they are trained up as our certified partners to help businesses go through that implementation phase and help businesses go through that phase of understanding what metrics to track, what metrics to leave, and then how do you take it forward.
Be very fair and transparent with all the participants that are presumably SME and corporate. Mixpanel is one of the tools that are available to provide these kind of services. How Mixpanel is working with other tools like Google Analytics, for example, or other tools that are maybe covering different kind of perspective, much more external perspective of the interaction of the customer, for example, with the app, to understanding how many downloads they have an app, or how the people are interacting with the app. Because Mixpanel thinks that it's covering one internal part of the interaction that is key, right? But there are also other parts of the digital products that need to be tracked, right? How Mixpanel is relating with other kind of aspect?
Yeah, great question. So the real value of Mixpanel is obviously be a really strong product analytics tool, but we also are really, really strong in data governance. What I mean by that is data can come into Mixpanel and out of Mixpanel in multiple ways. So if you as a business have invested in a stack which sort of has a CDP like a Telium or Segment, that is your data collection layer, and that's sort of where all your customer data is sort of aggregated. Mixpanel implements really easily into a CDP so that you can push all of that data from a CDP into Mixpanel. Mixpanel also sort of allows you to run advanced analytics, but at the same time act on that data. So I showed you those funnel steps. Anyone who has dropped off on the third stage of the funnel, you can select that cohort of users, and that specific cohort, you can push it down within 4 clicks. You can push it down into a Braze or an Iterable or an Airship or a OneSignal or a MoEngage to run marketing automation and to run personalization and campaign orchestration. You have mobile attribution data from Adjust or AppsFlyer that can go into Mixpanel, so you can now analyze where your users are coming from along with what they're doing in your product. So you can stitch all of that data together. If you are invested in a cloud storage solution, we have a data pipelines product where you can pipe all of that data into the cloud warehouse. So you can create this data unity and this sort of single source of truth for your data. So I have a visual that I would like to share with you if you give me a couple of minutes, but that sort of really showcases the value of Mixpanel as being part of a data ecosystem. But I'll let Hiten sort of verbalize it in his fashion from a partner's perspective of what he's seeing in market as well.
Thank you, Rachit. And I think the crucial point over here is that Mixpanel or a data analytics or a product analytics platform is part of a larger ecosystem. And each one of these is suitable to conduct a very specific thing. And businesses shouldn't rely on just one, but businesses need to know that they need to put together a tool set or a set of tools together to be able to conduct things more efficiently. And especially now, because one of the things that we've noticed since the beginning of 2020 is that timelines, which were usually for digital transformation, businesses had timelines that were extended into 3 years, 4 years. Everything has now been condensed into a 6-month or a 12-month running timeline. So it's essential that businesses look at it more strategically rather than an IT function only.
Completely agree. And I have in my before Raket give you the just second for showing this. Again, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the small business and try to be in a scenario in which they have a new item that are selling, a new product they're selling, but this product for some reason it's not working, as maybe it doesn't have the right visibility or whatever. How, in this case, data analytics tool can help the business for understanding what is wrong in this scenario?
Well, let's look at it this way. So in order to answer that question, we have to pick up a hypothetical scenario. In the most hypothetical scenario, and the easiest way to explain this would be to think of it as an application. Let's say the business has a mobile app, whether that's on iOS or Android, or even a web platform. A tool like Mixpanel or any other product analytics solution can help you understand what page of your website or what page of your mobile app is specifically the problem, possibly even allow you to pinpoint exactly where the problems stand in terms of the user experience. Because let's be honest, users don't just come back to a business for the products they sell, but they also come back based on the user experience that they have while interacting with your business, your organization, or your product. And products such as Mixpanel help you understand that from a user experience perspective, these are the friction points, or these are the pain points that my users are having, allows you to then start taking evidence-based decisions that, all right, these are the solutions that I need to come up with. And those solutions could range from marketing. Those solutions could range from process engineering or process re-engineering efforts. Those solutions could be operational efforts. So these complement and allow different functions in the business to essentially understand what the problems are from a user experience perspective as well.
Very practical. It could exist list of tools that can be used by the SMEs for different kind of problem in sense of understanding the app, understanding the back end, how is the understanding interaction, understanding the sentiment. It does exist, let me say, a web page that lists all these kind of tools and is updated, because I want to be very practical be useful for our audience. And again, I would like that today they will go directly there in that web page, downloading the Mixpanel, for example, and try it today. Do you think this is possible?
Rashid, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the beauty of the modern sort of growth stack that sort of, David, you're insinuating, you're touching on here, is the fact that there are certain tools, but they can be utilized by your teams, by SMEs in their own unique ways. So that's why I was sort of showing this sort of ecosystem map, because it sort of really helps understand sort of how businesses are sort of working in with other technologies. So a lot of times this is the safe space. This is where a lot of investment goes into understanding, into sort of.
Can you zoom it a bit?
Sorry, my bad. So is it better?
Yes, a bit more. Yes, perfect.
Perfect. A lot of times, most of the investment for businesses goes over here to acquire new users, right? So that's where all the marketing investment goes in, and then you have sort of businesses like AppsFlyer and Adjust and Branch that do attribution of those users that are coming into these platforms. But obviously your digital product is sitting here, and all the users that are working, that you're really investing to acquire, are sort of being influenced by your product. And with the advent of mobile, and like by the whole world being in the one by one apps, the apps on your phone, your product is now sitting at the heart of your user experience and your digital and your sort of transformation as a business. So this sort of connecting user acquisition to your digital products, and then analyzing that data, and then sort of keeping this cycle and keeping this reiterating on this is the need of the hour, right? So I'll obviously share this with you guys, and there are multiple businesses here. So depending on what your requirements are of as a business, you can feel free to choose the necessary sort of technologies that impact you and your user-led or your product-led growth. But what Hitaine mentioned just before, David, your question was exactly the sort of is the answer to how sort of Meta separates itself from Google Analytics, because marketing analytics and product analytics can very well be considered the same by an unsophisticated user, but it takes a different sort of perspective to understand where Google Analytics is coming from and what product analytics value that we are driving. Google had developed its analytics tool to sort of understand to understand traffic to their site, and in essence make those advertising platforms that Google owns more cost effective, and make it more efficient for businesses to invest their marketing budgets in. Google Analytics doesn't touch upon the nuances that Hitaine mentioned that can allow you to pinpoint specific behaviors of your users in your product and sort of drive that iteration cycle and drive that innovation cycle. And this is the biggest nuance, and this is why we say you need both, because you need to understand how to effectively acquire users, but at the same time you need a robust engagement and retention strategy to analyze once those users have been acquired, are they staying, are they not, if they are not, why not, so that's sort of that process and that cycle that needs to be undertaken.
Completely agree, and I think that there's a specific approach to follow in a disciplined way. It's not something, I agree, it's not something that you can download from the web and try it in an easy way. I mean, you can do it to understand how it works, things, but it's good. It's a good practice to have a strategy in there, in a good approach, and being disciplined in following specific steps, because that is very good to approach in this way. I think that we are just coming to the end of the first part of the webinar. Shiba is starting to message me to say to remind the timing. So we have give the 10 minutes of question and answer section, so that let's participant to have some question and reply to this question. In the meanwhile, we will have a poll. Very important because for us, having the feedbacks on the quality of the webinar is key. So now I think that Meta will publish the. Thank you, Meta. The polling is here. So please, everyone, give us some feedback about the webinar. In the meanwhile, Shiba, do you have some question and answer? Question in the section? Some question?
Yet, but I would request the audience, if you have any questions, please type in, and we will ask the panelists to clarify any of your doubts, or if you like to have more information, we'll ask them to discuss in detail further. So please do ask your questions on the chat.
Be shy, guys. It's very important. I think that is key. Is one of the argument topic for the next year, that it's very important for the business. It's fueling the business, and knowing how is this product, this tool are working is really key. So please don't be shy, and share your question if you have some question, whatever will be the question, but please.
I think we have one question by Ashish.
Yes.
So the question, yes, David, the question is, any points on ethics of data and individual privacy concerns?
Oh, very important question.
I can quickly touch upon that. Listen, at the end of the day, there's no free lunch, right? The fact that we all are getting amazing contents readily available on our phone, on our laptops, on our websites, on our iPad, that sort of has to be commoditized in some shape or form. And that's where our personal data gets utilized. But one really good point Ashish made was around the ethics and individual privacy concerns. So when, as an SME business owner, your customers' privacy and your customers' sort of data is at the heart, should be at the heart of your business. What that means is, if your customer doesn't consent, or if your customer goes and requests for your data to be deleted, you need to have a mechanism that allows you to delete that data. Before that, you need to understand that with a tool, you shouldn't cast a wide net and capture all sorts of data without understanding the effects and the ramifications of that process. So only invest your time into the data that you need and do your due diligence in terms of collecting all of that data, and then have a mechanism in place where if that data is requested to be deleted, you should be able to delete that very quickly. So that's few points that I would like to make on that. Yeah.
Peter?
Well, that is a very interesting point. I wouldn't say anything too different to what Rachit has said, and I would like to point out that when you do have an internal team, or when you do have a data mechanism that is put in place, it eventually becomes easier. When you have tools such as Mixpanel, or even different types of data warehouses, there are frameworks put into place, especially with GDPR concerns. There are existing frameworks that businesses can apply to effectively and efficiently delete all of that data without even questioning. In fact, a lot of these processes are even automized. So when the user asks you to actually delete the data, it can be done seamlessly without manual or human intervention.
I agree. I completely agree, and thanks, Ashish, for this important question, because when all business managing data, it's very important to keep the kind of sensitivity on this kind of topic of the privacy. Extremely important. Do we have more questions?
A question.
Have some minutes.
Yes,
available.
Yes, but we don't have any other questions from the audience. But I have a question to Hiten, maybe, because it's more a business specific question. So Hiten, what is the trend you see in UAE on product analytics, and is there any change in the trend over the past few years?
Well, there definitely has been a massive uptake over the last few years. And again, for the sake of transparency, although I am a Mixpanel certified partner, I would like to say that not just Mixpanel, but data analytics platforms in general are seeing a lot of uptake. We've got everything from small businesses to medium-sized businesses now starting to utilize data. And they may not be successful at this point. They may not be the most efficient at analyzing and utilizing and leveraging the data, but I definitely do think that, yes, there is an upward trend. And this is not specifically limited to the UAE. Saudi Arabia is coming up as a key region as well. And with some of the startups over there, fintech, a lot of fintech innovation being done in Saudi Arabia as well. So across the region, there definitely is an uptake. And I think this is only going to double or even possibly triple over the next, 2021 and 2022.
Completely agree. Completely agree. We have just very. Someone is talking? No? Maybe you, Rocket?
No, no, I
No.
guess no more questions.
Okay.
I think so,
Okay.
David. Yeah.
Okay, no more question. Very good. So I would say that we're closing to the end of the webinar. I thank you for the insightful section, really. I would like to thank you, the panelists, for joining us today and sharing their knowledge, very specific knowledge with us. And I thank everyone who joined the webinar. We appreciate your time and hope that you enjoyed the section. Please send us your feedbacks via email, socials about the content and about the webinar. And we'll take these feedbacks for improving these initiatives for the next one. Please make sure to check the MDF Connect platform for the recording of this webinar and for the upcoming webinars, because we have a very long roadmap for creating content for SME, for everyone. And we'll share the URL to the platform in a second in the chat. In terms of next steps, we'll keep available the video on the webinar. As I said, stay in touch with us for attending more webinars in the next weeks. Thank you very much for attending the webinar again, and have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you again.
Thank you for having us, David.
Thanks, Hiten. Thanks, David. Thanks, Shiva.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.